Bob Woodward releases the audio of his shocking interviews with Donald Trump.
Mr. Woodward, the president.
Hi, Bob.
We speak to the veteran journalist about why he now believes that the former president is an unparalleled danger to the United States. A warm welcome back to the programme. Bob Woodward is one of America's top journalists. He made his name investigating the Watergate scandal, and every president from Nixon to Biden has sat for interviews with the veteran reporter. 10 presidents in a row. But he now says that one stood out above the rest as an unparalleled danger to the United States. Someone who I'm sure you will recognise.
Mr. Woodward, the president.
Hi, Bob.
My whole life has been deals. I've done great. Far greater than people understand.
Well, I respect Putin. I think Putin likes me. I think I like him. It's law and order, Bob. Law and order.
Why don't you give me your taxes? No, seriously.
I said to the king, you gotta pay us for protection. If it weren't for us, we had a very good chemistry together. We talked a lot. We could have talked. I will consider this one of my greatest achievements. Getting the scum out of government and its scum.
Sir, you're going to be judged by how you handle the virus.
I have done a tremendous amount for the black community, and honestly, I'm not feeling any love.
Well, the Trump presidency had so many twists and turns that Woodward penned 3 best-selling books on the rise and fall of his 4 years in office. But now he says that there is more to tell, that his book simply didn't go far enough. And so he has decided to publish the tapes of his 20 interviews with the president spanning his entire 4 years. He sat down for a special interview with me just a short time ago to discuss what he learned and his warnings about what could come if Donald Trump makes a return in 2024. Well, I began by asking him why he felt this was the right time to release the tapes.
Well, I listened to them again earlier this year, and quite frankly, I was stunned, because when you listen, you hear his voice and the certainty and the absolute, I know what I'm doing, I'm the only one that knows, that that really takes the printed page and, it's there, but it doesn't have that power. And as I say in the commentary I gave in the audiobook 200 times, actually, that you hear Trump thundering in your ears in a way that is reminiscent. But because I was able to spend so many hours interrogating him and taking questions like the virus or the racial justice issues in this country and follow up sometimes for a half hour.
And it's at that point when you hear his voice, the defiance in the tone of his voice, especially, Bob, when you were pushing him on his leadership, on whether his leadership was a test of a lifetime. When we hear the defiance in his answer, it's quite eye-opening. It certainly takes us back to that time when he was president.
Was there a moment in all of this last 2 months where you said to yourself, this is the leadership test of a lifetime?
No.
That defiance, Bob, what does it say?
Yes, and this is at a point a week after he's closed down the United States because of the virus. It is a pandemic. It is a health crisis like we've never seen before. And of course, it's a leadership test of a lifetime. And he wants to deny that with a categorical, I'm slamming the door on the idea that I have some responsibility here, which when you hear it, it's almost unbelievable that a president of the United States, I once asked Trump, what's the job of the president? And he said, to protect the people. And here he is not lifting a finger to protect the people, but telling me, I try to play it down because I don't want to create a panic.
And when he talks about, again, it's the power of hearing his voice, Bob, when he talks about disloyalty within the Republican Party, and he's saying he's not threatening the party, but when you hear him say that, it sounds exactly the opposite.
The Republican Party has always been known for disloyalty to each other. Okay, they always broke up. I will say this, and this isn't a threat, because it's not a threat, but if they won against me, they all lose their election.
It really takes us back to that time, doesn't it, Bob?
It does, and of course it was a threat, and he has that influence in the Republican Party. Now I'm talking to him while he's president, his last year in 2020. Now he's going to run again, and all the polling and interviewing shows he still has that presence, that control in the Republican Party of tens of millions of people. So I wanted to get this story out and let people judge for themselves. It is like being in the room with him in the Oval Office of the White House, one time down at his estate in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, or on the telephone, and you see and you hear exactly what I'm trying to get him to open up. And in the process, I think he opens up in a way, unfortunately for this country, that makes a mockery of the responsibilities a president has, not only in our Constitution and laws, but moral responsibility to, as he said, protect the people, and as he failed to do.
Now, he really opened up to you over those many, many hours of over those calls that came at various different times of the day or night. But when you pushed him about the possibility of a contested election, he went rather quiet. Let's have a listen.
Well, we're going into the election. Everyone keeps asking, suppose it's a close election and it's contested. What are you going to do? Everyone says Trump is going to stay in the White House if it's contested. Have you?
Well, I don't want to even comment on that.
Sure.
I don't want to comment on that at this time. Hey, Bob, I got all these people. I'll talk to you later on tonight because I have to go because of the.
He didn't really answer that, did he?
No, and he ran out. He said, and politely ran out. To his credit, I fault myself for not pursuing that more. I should have asked additional questions about why don't you want to comment on that. I should have pursued it, because we later found out after he lost the election that there was no evidence that it was stolen from him. I investigated that with my colleague at the Washington Post, Robert Costa, in our book Peril, and there is no evidence, zero. And the Trump supporters that we talked to investigated this, and we have the documentary evidence of that. And I should have said, wait a minute, why is he saying that? I think as listening to the 8 hours of tape with my wife Elsa and assistant and lawyer Claire McMullen, that's the only time he says, I have no comment. And it should have rung a bell in my head. Wait a minute, why is he not commenting on this? And then saying just abruptly, I gotta go.
I can hear the regret in your voice for not pushing that. But I just wonder, when it comes to making that decision to let us hear all of these tape recordings now, why did you not release them when you had them near at the time, earlier on, so we could have made our own decisions, hearing the president's voice then, when you were recording them all those years ago?
Well, so parts of them were out. I actually ran 90 pages of the transcripts of the interviews in my book, Rage, which came out in September 2020, before the election. And quite honestly, I went back and listened to them the beginning of this year, And Elsa and Claire and I started going through it and said, this is a series of revelations about the man, not who just was president, but it looks like, and the people I've talked to, he's going to run in 2024 again. So what do you do as a reporter? You add to the record. I think this notches up and really amplifies our understanding of who he is, that he really doesn't believe in democracy. And the truly tragic part here is doesn't understand the responsibility. He could have, as it took me months to discover, he had been warned in June. He'd been warned in July. He'd been warned in January of 2020, just as we were entering that election year, that the virus, his national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, and you can hear this on the tapes, tells the President Trump, this virus that's coming will be the biggest national security threat to your presidency. I've covered 10 presidents, gone back to national security advisors, I think 16 of them, including Henry Kissinger. And I never heard of a national security advisor coming to the president and laying it out so starkly in that warning. And Robert O'Brien's deputy, Matt Pottinger, had the experience and contacts in China and was able to tell the president that the variable in this virus that is coming, now this is before it's in the United States at all, it's in China, that the spread is asymptomatic, that people who don't have symptoms can spread it, and that 50% of the people are going to be like that. And Pottinger said, look to the president, this is going to be 3 alarms on a 3-alarm fire. It's going to be worse, according to the very credible contacts that Pottinger had inside China. The Chinese government was lying about this and covering it up. And the contacts, doctors and experts in China said, look, this is going to be it's going to be worse than the 2018 Spanish flu pandemic in the United States that killed 650,000 people. Now we know it has killed 1.1 million people in this country. And the president of the United States had the information to warn the public early, and he failed miserably. I think if you look at it, he failed criminally. He had a responsibility, and God knows if he told the public about this. Took me 6 weeks to really figure out what had happened. And I actually asked Trump about it, said, wait a minute, your national security advisor said this will be the biggest national security threat to your presidency. And O'Brien had said that. He has said that publicly. I asked Trump about it. I said, do you remember it? And Trump said, no, but I am sure he said it. I am sure he said it. We now know from O'Brien, from his deputy, and the whole record on this, that that's exactly what happened. I mean, I've never heard of a warning like that. And to come into the president of the United States at a top secret presidential daily briefing, I guess Trump thought it was so top secret that it was never going to get out, that the public would never know that he had received this warning.
Absolutely extraordinary. Let me just thank you once again, Bob Woodward, and also a huge thanks to your wife, the journalist Elsa Walsh, who at one point remarked that it felt like there were 3 of you in your marriage, in your relationship, with all of those phone calls coming in. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.